20 people shot, several at point-blank range. Many of the survivors are being treated behind me here at the university.
The government is controlling people through grammar. The mind of Jared Lee Loughner. Conspiracy theories. They've been around for centuries, sparking curiosity and sometimes even fear. They can be about aliens, secret societies, or even grammar? Believe it or not, there are conspiracies about something as fundamental as grammar. That's right, grammar. You might be thinking, isn't that a bit strange? Well, buckle up, because in the case of Jared Lee Loughner, his obsession with grammar might be a key to understanding the 2011 Tucson shooting. Loughner wasn't just a grammar enthusiast. He believed the government was using grammar to control people's minds.
They're controlling the grammar. They control the grammar.
Sounds crazy, right? But this wasn't an isolated rant. We'll explore how his extreme beliefs on grammar, along with other beliefs, seemed to connect to a larger web of beliefs that ultimately led to the shooting. Chapter 1. Introduction. On January 8, 2011, at a constituent meeting held by Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords in Tucson, Arizona, Loughner opened fire, killing 6 people and wounding 13 others, including Giffords herself. But what led this young man, who seemingly had an obsession with proper communication, to commit such a violent act? This question raises a deeper inquiry into Loughner's mental state and the complex web of beliefs that fueled his actions. In this video, we delve into the mind of Jared Lee Loughner to uncover the factors that led to that tragic day. From his early years to his radical beliefs, we seek to understand the mindset of a man who seemed to defy easy categorization. Chapter 2. Early life. Jared Lee Loughner was born on September 10, 1988 in Tucson, Arizona. The only child of Randy and Amy Loughner, Jared's early life appeared typical on the surface. His mother, Amy, worked as a horticulturist for the Pima County Parks Department, while his father, Randy, was a retired gasoline truck driver. Despite his seemingly stable home life, neighbors described the Loughners as a very private family. While details about Loughner's childhood are limited, he seemingly had a normal upbringing. In Mountain View High School, Jared was known as a nice, albeit somewhat shy student. He displayed an interest in music, playing the saxophone in a jazz band, and engaged in various artistic endeavors like poetry. Yet, underneath these hobbies and interests, Jared grappled with a growing sense of isolation and disconnection. While Loughner had friends in high school, his behavior began to change in the years that followed. Neighbors noticed that he kept more to himself, rarely speaking to others. His friend Zach Ulcer recalled Jared as someone who was odd, but not violent. He was kind of weird, someone you couldn't figure out, Ulcer said. He'd say things and I'd be shocked, random words strung together about imagination, dreams, and consciousness. You'd try to figure out what he was saying.
I read it, and then he wanted to know what my, impression of it was. And I kind of told him that, it was nicely written, but I didn't really understand the message that he was trying to convey in it. I could tell there was a message, but I didn't really understand what it was.
As Jared's behavior became increasingly erratic, he struggled to maintain stability in his life. After high school, he was fired from a job at a fast food joint, ousted from a volunteer position at an animal shelter, and eventually expelled from Pima Community College due to disruptive behavior. Former friends noted a change in Loughner's demeanor as he began experimenting with alcohol and drugs.
To know if this is real or if he's just in his own mind, whether he's dead.
It's mainly about a person trying to struggle what his real waking life is, right?
In 2007, he was arrested for possessing drug paraphernalia, and his attempt to enlist in the U.S. Army was rejected in December 2008 after he failed a drug test. Despite his increasing instability, there were no significant interventions. Loughner's behavior grew more erratic, and he became involved in minor acts of vandalism and graffiti. His friend Ulcer recalls trying to distance himself from Jared as his actions became more troubling. "I don't think he had a good home life. His dad would yell at him over minor things," Ulcer said. He was becoming unstable. At one point, he was into things like graffiti and minor vandalizing. I was like, dude, this isn't good. We started to dwindle apart after that. Chapter 3. A Mind in Turmoil. Mental Health Struggles. As Jared Lee Loughner's behavior became increasingly erratic, concerns grew about his mental health. Friends, family, and those who interacted with him noticed signs that went beyond eccentricity, suggesting a more serious underlying issue. Loughner's parents, Randy and Amy, grew increasingly concerned. They noticed drastic changes in their son's behavior after his dismissal from Pima Community College. Amy Loughner told investigators that they even took away his shotgun after being warned by college police that he might be a danger to himself or others. Jared's erratic behavior at Pima Community College was a significant turning point. He had multiple run-ins with campus police due to his disruptive actions in classrooms and the library. He was eventually suspended after posting a disturbing video online claiming the college was illegal. The school required him to obtain mental health clearance before returning, but he chose to drop out instead. In a poetry class, classmates described him as wildly inappropriate.
As I knew him more and more after high school, he got a little bit more odd. I mean, he was obsessed with the 2012 prophecy. I mean, he met Gabrielle Giffords once in '07 and told me he asked her some question that made absolutely no sense to me. But he said, I can't believe she doesn't understand it.
Jared made unsettling comments about terrorism and killing babies during a discussion on abortion, leaving his peers in shock. He started making comments about terrorism and laughing about killing the baby, said Don Curo. The rest of us were looking at him in shock. I thought this young man was troubled. Another classmate, Lydian Ali, remembered him making a comment about strapping a bomb to a fetus to make a baby bomber. Paul Reagan, a professor of psychiatry at Vanderbilt University, suggests that Loughner's behavior strongly indicated paranoid schizophrenia.
Loughner's attorney also pointed out 3 different doctors have diagnosed Loughner with 3 different types of schizophrenia. As doctors talked about him, Loughner sat quietly in the courtroom and did not talk and appeared to stare at the judge most of the time.
Schizophrenia, which affects about 1% of the population, often becomes apparent between ages 18 and 22, Reagan said. Loughner's parents did their best to manage his erratic behavior at home. His father, Randy, confiscated Jared's shotgun and disabled his car nightly to prevent him from leaving. Despite these efforts, Jared's mental state continued to deteriorate. Just hours before the rampage, Jared had a breakdown during a traffic stop. An Arizona Game and Fish officer, Alan Edward Forney, recounted how Jared cried when he was let off with a warning for running a red light. I asked him if he was okay, Forney said. He said he was, but his face got screwed up and he started to cry. Among Loughner's many unconventional beliefs, his concept of concise dreaming stood out, because I think it was a coping mechanism for his mental health issues. This idea, which revolved around achieving order and control within his dreams, mirrored his desire for structure in a world he found increasingly chaotic. Concise dreaming is the idea of creating a structured and controlled dream environment, reflecting Loughner's deeper need for order amidst his mental chaos. This concept tied into his obsessive focus on grammar and communication, hinting at his struggle to make sense of his own fragmented thoughts. Chapter 4. Rebel with a Cause. Anti-government views and the sovereign citizen movement. As Jared Lee Loughner's mental health continued to decline, the signs of his descent into violence became more apparent. From disturbing online posts to his fascination with conspiracy theories, we delve into the factors that led to the tragic events in Tucson. Loughner's anti-government sentiments were alarming. He frequently expressed distrust and anger toward authorities, believing the government was manipulating and controlling people. Loughner's anti-government beliefs were fueled by conspiracy theories and a deep-seated mistrust of authority. In his online posts, he frequently railed against what he perceived as government fabrications and brainwashing tactics. Loughner's frustrations with authority led him to the sovereign citizen movement. This movement, with David Wynn at its core, believes in the illegitimacy of government laws and taxes.
This technology has been perfected, and misinformation, privileged few are allowed to go free from committing crimes, and others are slapped with serious fines, prison terms for absolutely nothing.
The sovereign citizen movement argues that people can reclaim their rights by rejecting government contracts, such as social security numbers and driver's licenses.
He was independent from the laws of the land and wasn't required to provide information to the officer who pulled him over.
First of all, why are you pulling me over?
Nope, I need your driver's license, your registration.
Hold on, we're gonna do this again. I study law,
okay,
and I'm not a dummy, and I know everybody down at that office.
David Wynn, a notable figure in this movement, teaches that the government uses grammar to control and brainwash citizens. Loughner's fascination with the movement's teachings aligned with his anti-government views. He adopted the belief that the government's manipulation of language was a form of mind control. Chapter 5. Obsession with Grammar. Jared Lee Loughner's fixation on grammar wasn't just an eccentric quirk. It was a central part of his worldview, deeply tied to his broader delusions and anti-government sentiments. In his YouTube videos, Loughner often posted cryptic and logically flawed statements about various topics like currency, God, and the Constitution. But most striking were his thoughts on grammar and the government's misuse of language. Loughner claimed the government is implying mind control and brainwash on the people by controlling grammar. This belief wasn't an isolated rant, but a consistent theme in his writings and videos. Loughner's obsession with grammar was linked to his anti-government views. He believed the government controlled people by manipulating language, a theory that aligned with the teachings of David Wynn Miller, a figure in the sovereign citizen movement. David Wynn Miller teaches that the government uses grammar to control and brainwash citizens. He claims that by altering the punctuation of one's name, a person can evade taxes and government control. Miller even refers to himself as the King of Hawaii. Miller's ideology is intertwined with the sovereign citizen movement, which argues that citizens can reclaim their rights by rejecting government contracts and documentation.
Sovereign citizens believe that they have separated themselves from the United States of America and as a result do not need to follow U.S. law.
Loughner's alignment with these beliefs is evident in his statements about grammar and government control. Loughner's friend, Bryce Tierney, recalled an event where Loughner questioned Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords about the meaning of government if words had no meaning. Tierney explained that Giffords' unsatisfactory answer intensified Loughner's animosity towards her. Loughner complained, "Can you believe it? They wouldn't answer my question." He saw this as evidence of her inauthenticity, further fueling his hatred towards her. Loughner's preoccupation with grammar extended to his views on literacy. He often claimed that most people were illiterate, including his friends and acquaintances. In a YouTube video titled, "Hello," Loughner said, "If you're literate in English grammar, then you comprehend English grammar. The majority of people who reside in District 8 are illiterate." Hilarious. Loughner often called people illiterate, not targeting any specific group, but broadly criticizing others for their perceived lack of literacy. Loughner's fascination with grammar was coupled with a pseudo-logical approach to reasoning. He frequently used flawed logic structures in his posts, making them difficult to follow. For instance, in one of his videos, Loughner stated, "If there's no flag in the Constitution, then the flag in the film is unknown. There's no flag in the Constitution. Therefore, the flag in the film is unknown." These types of statements reflect his convoluted thinking. Loughner, using the alias Erad3 on forums, often posted about inductive and deductive reasoning. His fascination with these concepts influenced his writing style, making his posts nearly impossible to engage with meaningfully. But Loughner's disturbing views didn't stop at grammar. They extended to a broader, more insidious distrust of the government itself, manifesting in various conspiracy theories and anti-government sentiments. Chapter 6. Anti-government sentiments. Loughner's anti-government beliefs were another significant part of his ideology. He frequently expressed distrust for the government and believed it was involved in various conspiracies. In his own words, "The government is implying mind control and brainwash on the people by controlling grammar." Loughner's distrust extended beyond just the federal government. He had anti-police sentiments and was critical of his community college, claiming constitutional violations.
This is the police station. This is where the whole shaboozy goes down with illegal activity.
He said, "The United States Constitution, which is the law, can be broken at this school," referencing incidents involving campus security at his community college. One of Loughner's more bizarre beliefs included the idea that NASA faked space missions, such as the Mars rover landings, due to the supposed impossibility of long-distance communication. He expressed this in his typical pseudo-logical style. NASA sends the Mars rover to Mars with communication, or NASA fakes the situation. NASA didn't send the Mars rover to Mars with communication. Therefore, NASA fakes the situation. Loughner elaborated that most people just trust that people in authority are offering valid statements and conclusions and trust that they wouldn't lie. But in reality, all of us base our mental constructs upon the ideas of others, not our own observations. Another theme in Loughner's anti-government views dealt with the concept of currency. Near the end of one of his videos entitled, "My Final Thoughts," Loughner briefly proclaimed, "No, I won't pay debt with a currency that's not backed by gold and silver." This reflects a common sentiment among anti-government extremists who reject paper money in favor of gold and silver. The Above Top Secret forum may offer some illumination on where Loughner picked up these ideas. During the summer of 2010, using Erad3, Loughner's alias, started a discussion thread titled, "Infinite Source of Currency?" He asked if it were possible for there to be an infinite source of currency. Responses from other forum members who believed that paper money was worthless may have influenced Loughner's views on currency. Loughner's online persona, as revealed through his ERAD 3 account, is a complex tapestry woven with threads of anti-government sentiment, personal philosophy, and a unique worldview. However, Loughner's online presence reveals another layer to his complex worldview, his stance on religion. Chapter 7. Strong Views Against Religion. Loughner also harbored strong anti-religious views. He often made statements and took actions that reflected his disdain for organized religion, especially Christianity. He claimed that religion was a form of control and mind manipulation, similar to his views on government and grammar. One opinion clearly expressed in Loughner's online expressions is a distrust or dislike of religion, especially Christianity. In one of his YouTube videos, Loughner claimed that he refused to write a religious preference on an army recruiting form, and later in the same video, after making the currency statement mentioned above, he proclaimed, "No, I won't trust in God." Chapter
Hi, this is your Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords inviting you to a one-on-one meeting. I am hosting Congress on Your Corner this Saturday.
On January 8, 2011, Jared Lee Loughner carried out a mass shooting in Tucson, Arizona that shocked the nation and left a deep scar on the community. The attack targeted a Congress on Your Corner event hosted by U.S. Representative Gabrielle Giffords. 6 people were killed and 13 others were wounded, including Giffords. The shooting on January 8, 2011 was a tragic culmination of Loughner's deep-seated frustrations and extremist beliefs. But what led to this horrifying event? In the hours leading up to the rampage, Loughner exhibited a series of disturbing behaviors. Law enforcement officials later detailed these actions, providing a chilling timeline of his movements. Less than 10 hours before the shooting, Loughner developed photos at a Walgreens, depicting him holding a 9mm Glock 19 pistol next to his nearly naked buttocks and crotch. This was the same weapon used in the shooting. After developing the photos, Loughner checked into a Motel 6 near Interstate 10 at 12:29 a.m. He picked up the developed photos at 2:19 a.m. and at 4:12 a.m. posted a farewell message on his MySpace page. "Goodbye, friends." After 7 a.m., Loughner visited a super Walmart in suburban Marana to purchase ammunition in a black diaper bag. He was turned away at one Walmart due to his strange behavior, but successfully bought ammunition at another. Upon returning home between 7:31 a.m. and 9:40 a.m., Loughner was confronted by his father and fled on foot with a black bag. Just hours before the shooting, Loughner was pulled over by an Arizona Game and Fish officer for running a red light. During the stop, he broke down and cried, expressing relief at not receiving a ticket. At 10:10 a.m., Loughner opened fire on the crowd gathered at the outdoor event. The attack was swift and brutal, leaving 6 dead and 13 wounded. Among the deceased were 9-year-old Christina Taylor Greene, U.S. District Judge John Roll, and Giffords' aide Gabe Zimmerman. Representative Gabrielle Giffords was critically injured with a gunshot wound to the head, but survived. The community rallied together in the aftermath, demonstrating solidarity and strength in the face of tragedy. The loss of innocent lives and the injuries sustained by survivors left a lasting mark on the Tucson community.
Well, to be at the vigil just to send love and prayers to the families that were affected today. This isn't what we want in this country.
Loughner was subdued at the scene by bystanders and taken into custody by the police. His arrest marked the beginning of a lengthy legal process. Loughner faced multiple charges, including attempted assassination of a member of Congress, and was held without bail. During court proceedings, Loughner's mental state became a focal point. He was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia and deemed incompetent to stand trial initially. After undergoing treatment and being restored to competency, Loughner pleaded guilty to 19 charges to avoid the death penalty.
In court, a doctor who works closely with Jared Loughner revealed new details about Loughner's behavior while he's been in custody at a mental hospital. Loughner's main psychologist testified Loughner has thrown chairs, has paced around his room until he got an infection in one of his legs, has imaginary friends, and at one point did not sleep for more than 50 hours.
On November 8, 2012, he was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The shooting had a profound impact on the victims their families, and the Tucson community. Gabrielle Giffords, despite her critical injuries, made a remarkable recovery and became a symbol of resilience and determination. While it is challenging to make definitive claims about the motivations behind Loughner's actions, it is clear that his personal struggles and extremist ideologies played a significant role. His anti-government views, obsession with grammar as a form of control, and connections to the sovereign citizen movement all contributed to his radicalization. These elements, combined with his deteriorating mental health, created a volatile mix that ultimately led to his tragic and violent actions.